Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to have a look at another beer from a brewery who you've seen me review numerous things from before. So these guys are probably one of the best known Swedish breweries, mainly known for their hazy IPAs, but the stouts that I've had from these guys in recent times have also been very good. So for this review then, we are going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up on the west coast. I really lose track of how many times I've said that on the channel before, but for this review we're having a look at another beer from Stigbergets Bryggeri. So this one is the Sinnerman, which comes in at 12% ABV, and they're describing this one as a Sinnerman Imperial Stout. And you can see it's in one of these very thin Red Bully type cans that they like to put their collaboration beers and things in normally. So the stouts that I've had from these guys recently, the Trouble Sleep and the Yang Awake, I believe they were both coffee stouts if I remember rightly, but those were very nice, so I'm really curious to see what they do with a cinnamon stout. And at 12% this one is a little bit of a monster, so hopefully it turns out to be another very nice beer. So I've had really many good experiences with this brewery, and I'm curious just to see what this has in store, as I've said. So I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on. As always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Stigbergets before. No doubt you will see some more reviews from these guys at some point in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Stigbergets Bryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you many a time before, Stigbergets Bryggeri are based in Gothenburg, Göteborg on the west coast of Sweden, and they were founded by Nils Hultkrantz and Richard Simonsson. So the pair own two bars that share the one kitchen. This is the Bar Kino and the Hagabions Cafe, which you can find on Linnegatan in Gothenburg, and these opened back in 2007. And this building is actually an independent cinema, which I didn't know until I actually went to visit it, which is kind of ironic. So you can check out my little out and about video that I did at the Bar Kino, which was really fun to film actually. But originally the idea that these guys had was to brew a few beers that they could sell in the bars, and this led to them kegging the beer and then selling it on to other pubs before eventually they started bottling the beers themselves in November of 2014. So the original beers were mainly English and German styles, but of course this brewery really started to make its name with the more hoppy American styles of beer, notably the hazy New England IPAs. Some people have dubbed them the kind of the Swedish West Coast IPAs. But the original head brewer at Stigbergets was Ole Andersson, who is one of the co-owners of OO Brewing, and he has now gone back to take full control, if you like, to spend full time on his own company. He was replaced for a period of time by Barnaby Struve as well, who was president of Three Floyds, but I think he only stayed for a couple of months actually. But they've recently opened up a new brewery in Partihalarna. I believe that opened at the end of 2018. And they brew 5,000 litre batches there every time, and they're beginning to work on some sour beers as well. There have been a few sour beers released through Systembolaget. I think in June of this year they are going to release a few different sour beers, but they've also started selling their beers in the 440ml cans as well, and this has helped them to export their beers quite a bit more as well. But their current brew team is Ollie Banks, who used to work for Beavertown in London, and also Lucas Munraid, who used to work for All In Brewing, one of the numerous gypsy breweries that you'll find in the Gothenburg area. But every so often they open up the brewery to host a bar, and they've just opened up a bar in Stockholm as well. So if you want to try the the OO Brewing and Stigbergets beers, the sort of unofficial tap room, if you like, in Gothenburg is the Bar Kino or the Hagabions Cafe. So I would recommend that you go and check that out. As I said earlier, you can check out my kind of out and about video that I filmed when I was up there. But as of May 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, Stigbergets have produced around 60 different types of beer, and I have to admit I'm surprised that it's not more than that, to be honest with you, because you know, when I think about it, I would have just thought the amount of beers that we get from Stigbergets, I would have thought it would have been considerably more than that actually. But yeah, a very, very good brewery, very well respected in my experience, and one that you definitely need to check out if you are interested in Swedish beer. The Amazing Haze is a little bit of a cult classic in Sweden, one of the first, you know, one of the beers that really kind of kicked it off. There's also the new and improved GBG Beer Week, and it was the GBG Beer Week, I want to say 2015, that they produced, that was a very, very well regarded beer. So I recommend that you check that one out, the GBG Beer Week, the new and improved GBG, because that was one of the first kind of hazy New England IPAs that we had here in Sweden. Narangi, of course, is the other classic one, which is Ole Anderson's own company, OO Brewing, that brew that one. So yeah, GBG Beer Week, the new and improved GBG Beer Week, Amazing Haze, and then Narangi from OO. If you want to see where the whole haze craze in Sweden started, those are the three beers that you need to try. You know, Opigård's New Sweden IPA came along not long after that as well, so that one is definitely worth checking out. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Stigbergets Bryggeri for the moment. These guys are very good when they try different styles. Mainly they're brewing the hazy IPAs. Recently I had the Jack, Queen and King of Hops, and also the Ololeo. I would say that the Ololeo is one of the best beers that they've done, but the Jack and the King and Queen of Hops were also really damn nice as well. So if you can try those beers, I highly recommend that you do. But Ololeo is definitely one of the best IPAs I've had from Stigbergets as well, so I do hope that that one becomes a bit of a regular. But yeah, a very nice Swedish brewery this one, and one that I definitely recommend that you check out. So if you want to learn more, check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's go on and actually have a taste of this beer then. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we open it up. You can see it is, you've seen this is the same kind of artwork as I say that was on the Trouble Sleep and Yanga Wake. I don't know if they have a separate artist for the kind of small cans that they do, the sort of Red Bully sized ones. The artwork on this one, it's Mikael Delness again. He's produced quite a few of the artworks for Stigbergets. I'm sure actually, I think he was the one who did the artwork for the Jack, Queen and King of Hops, if I remember rightly, that they produced recently. And the artwork, you know, his artwork is a little bit freaky, but it's very cool, I have to say. So yeah, there's like little random legs and eyes and everything everywhere. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool actually. But yeah, 12% Imperial Cinnamon Stout, this one, or Cinnamon Imperial Stout, however you want to say. But this one has, it says on the side here, it's got brown sugar, cocoa nibs, hops and yeast in it, cinnamon and vanillin. Vanillin, of course, is the chemical name for the vanilla flavour compound. So yeah, we got to make that in one of our organic chemistry labs at university, from what I remember. It was quite fun actually. We weren't allowed to eat it though, if I remember rightly, because it might have been impure with all the other, you know, shit that had been made in these lab glasses and stuff over the while. But yeah, we got to make we did get to make vanillin, but we weren't allowed to actually taste it because of all the other crazy stuff that's been made in the glassware that we were using. Because obviously we probably could have poisoned ourselves with just a trace amount of something. But yeah, 12% Imperial Cinnamon Stout, this one. Let's get it out and we will get on with the tasting then. Very curious to see what this has in store for us. Incidentally, this beer was released on the 26th of May 2020 through the local and småskaligt, no sorry, not the local and småskaligt, the tillfälligt assortiment, the temporary assortiment in Systembolaget here in Sweden. And yeah, this one, I think this only cost me like 40 crowns or something again. So for a 12% Imperial Stout, 40 crowns, about £3.50, €4. You know, you can't really go wrong with that. I think that's a decent price for it. And you can see the head on this one has just disappeared straight away. There was about a quarter finger of, you know, a very frothy, dark tan head on this one, but that has faded away very, very quickly with this beer. So as you can see with this one, this is poured a lovely dark kind of ebony rosewood colour, which is kind of what you would expect. It looks very nice with this one. It's pretty much black as night. There's one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, but you know, overall there's nothing particularly surprising about the appearance of this beer, apart from the fact that the head, there is literally nothing left on that head. It's gone completely down to nothing. There's not even just a little touch of foam. There is just absolutely hee-haw on the top of this one there. But one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass. You can see a few smaller bubbles going up towards the bottom of the head there. But you know, overall, it does look pretty damn nice, I have to say. It's pretty much what you would expect from an Imperial Stout, just no head. But yeah, let's have a little look at the aroma of this one then and see how we get on. That smells nice. Straight away you get the cinnamon out of this. As I've told you before, the Swedes absolutely love cinnamon. Cinnamon has really grown on me, and licorice has really grown on me since I've been over here. I never used to like licorice before. Cinnamon, I was like, yeah, whatever. But cinnamon and licorice have really grown on me since I've been here in Sweden. You can't really beat a kanelbuller, actually. You can't beat a kanelbull. You say en kanelbull? Yeah, kanelbullar is the plural. So yeah. But yeah, straight away this one, it smells like a very sweet stout actually. So you get a lot of the vanilla coming out of this one. You get the cinnamon straight away as well. There's a good bit of a chocolatey quality to this, maybe it's got a really kind of sweet, milky kind of chocolatey quality to it, but at the same time you can get some of the darker notes as well. It almost smells a little bit like a kind of oatmeal-y stout. You do get the impression from the aroma here with the smoothness that it has, that it's more of an oatmeal-y leaning stout, so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if it says on the can actually. Does it say? No, it actually doesn't. It doesn't say oats, it just says malted barley. So it's just a regular malty one. I'm surprised at that. Maybe it's the vanilla that's given it the impression of almost having a slightly kind of oaty type quality. Sometimes, vanilla oats and things like that, they can sort of intertwine a little bit, so maybe that's where I'm getting that impression from, because there is quite a bit of vanilla to this one, I have to say. It really gives you that almost vanilla-y, lactosey type quality, and the cinnamon kind of sits on top of that and just gives it a wee spicy sort of thing. But yeah, some nice milky chocolate in there. At the back of the nose you can get some of the darker chocolatey qualities out of the beer as well, so I do like how that goes together. The aroma of this one is very sweet and also really quite smooth at the same time, so I like how this one, I really like how the aroma on this on that goes together, to be quite honest with you. The aroma is very, very nice. It's not the most complex of aromas that you're going to come across, but I think it's one of these ones that's just really solid, and it kind of ticks the right boxes, to be honest. There's a wee bit of a woody, kind of nutty thing with this one, more nutty, I would say. Yeah, definitely more nutty than woody. You do get a little bit of the woodiness on the sides of the nose, but yeah, the aroma, like I say, nice little bit of a kind of, definitely a nice little bit of a sweet chocolatey quality to this one. As I say, a bit milky chocolate, and that'll be the lactose that's giving you that, but you do get a hint of darker chocolate in there. The cinnamon spice is there, the vanilla's there, and you've got a few woody and kind of nutty qualities to the beer. You've got a few woody and nutty qualities to this beer as well, so I really like how that all goes together in this one. It's actually a very sweet leaning beer, this one, and it almost gives you the impression of being like an oatmeal, a sort of imperial oatmeal stout actually, so I really like the aroma from this. On the hoppy side of things, there's a wee bit of earthiness, a wee touch of grassiness, maybe there's a wee bit of summit or something in here, to be honest with you, so I like how that, I really like how that side of things goes together. The fruitiness is quite interesting as well. It's almost a little bit phenolic, a little bit like a kind of Belgian brune or something like that. It's got that kind of medicinally cough syrupy type thing to it. Think of Cavonia. I don't know how good a reference that is for Swedish people, but in Scotland we have this cough medicine that's called Cavonia, and it's really got that almost medicinal cough syrupy type quality to it, this beer. So yeah, I really like how the aroma on this one goes together. I really like that about it, really cough syrupy and medicinal. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer as well, I would say it's almost got a little bit of a cakey flavour to it, or a cakey aroma, sorry, I keep mixing up the words flavour and aroma. It's got a kind of cakey-ish quality to it, a little bit like Christmas pudding. My dad always used to, his birthday was in February, and he always used to get Christmas pudding for his birthday cake. He just loved it. My dad's a little bit weird, but not as weird as me, I would say. But yeah, my dad loves this kind of Christmas puddingy thing, so there is almost just a kind of Christmas pudding, cakey type quality to this beer as well. On the fruity side of things, it's got a little bit of that juicy kind of plummy note to it, a little bit of a kind of figgy note, not quite the sharp raisins or cherries that you can sometimes get. It is more of a juicy, plummy, figgy type note that you'll get out of this one. Maybe a little bit pruny as well, in fairness. So yeah, this aroma has a lot of different things in it. The malt base as I was kind of saying earlier, I've kind of contradicted myself, because the malt base I think is fairly straight shooting, but the fruitiness and the kind of cakiness that you get out of the beer I think gives it a little bit more complexity as well. So I think I'm kind of going back on a statement that I made earlier on in the video. But I will just say it's a lovely aroma, this one, and it's kind of got everything that you would want from an Imperial Stout, and it strikes me as being like an almost oatmeal type Imperial Stout, but it doesn't say there's oats in the malt base of this one. I don't know if you would say oatmeal specifically on the ingredients, or whether oatmeal counts as like barley malt, but oats and barley are different grains. I don't know about that, but yeah, it strikes me as kind of a smooth oatmeal type Imperial Stout, this one. So take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you actually taste it, but we're going to have a look at this one now. This one is the Sinnerman, a 12% Imperial Cinnamon Stout from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg, here in Sweden, up on the west coast. Slange, skål. That's nice. What I would say, first impressions is that the cinnamon actually comes out a lot more in the aftertaste. It's not as cinnamon centric as I kind of thought it was going to be. In the aftertaste it certainly develops that, but it's really not as straight up and cinnamony in the beginning as I thought. So yeah, I like how the flavours, this is one of these ones where the flavours kind of take a little bit of time to develop actually. So you will see that with these kind of beers. When you add all these adjuncts and things into them, sometimes it takes a little bit for the dominant one to rear its head, if you like. Yeah, I do like how this goes together. In terms of the malty side of things with this, then you've got a nice straight away with this one you can feel there is a bit of a kind of toasty black malty quality that blankets the middle of the tongue. It's not very harsh though, it does come across as very smooth. I don't know, could it be Carafa or something like that? It doesn't, in fairness for Carafa, it doesn't really have the kind of bread crusty qualities, in fairness, but yeah, there is a nice kind of brown, on top of that roasty black malt, there's a nice kind of brown bready type quality to this one, and you get a bit of this, you do get a little bit of spice off of this one at the back. The cinnamon actually does give you a fairly spicy quality to this beer the more you drink of it, so yeah. Yeah, this one's really nice. I'm surprised at how almost light and drinkable this is for 12%. It's got a very smooth and very slick mouthfeel. We'll talk about that later, of course, but you would maybe expect this one to be a little bit more kind of thicker and creamy at 12%, but it doesn't, you know, it doesn't do it any detriment. Yeah, because I do remember the Trouble Sleeping Yang Awake being a little bit lighter in this. It's kind of interesting. I've got a feeling that maybe part of the base beer here would be quite similar. Maybe they've changed the kind of coffee that they would have used in that for cinnamon in this. So they've replaced the bitterness with from the coffee and the smoothness from the coffee with the sort of cinnamony spiciness. There is something quite reminiscent of this beer and those the Trouble Sleep and the Yang Awake. There is something that's really reminding me of that actually with this one. So yeah, I do like this beer. It gets a thumbs up from me. Some people, I can say, if you're not a great fan of cinnamon, you're probably not going to enjoy this one that much. So if you're not a great fan of cinnamon, try the Yang Awake or the Trouble Sleep. I think you'll probably enjoy those more. But if you are into your cinnamon, then I think this one will go down quite nicely. So yeah, as I said, this one, you get a bit of a toasty black malt there, and then you get a nice sort of brown bready smoothness just kind of coming out on top of that. If you go towards the very back of your palate, the back third of the tongue, you do get a little bit of the cinnamony kind of spice coming out of that one, and also a little bit of graininess there. But as you move into the middle third of your palate, there's a nice kind of so there is a little bit of a kind of brown sugary sweetness to this one, not too much, but it almost feels as if on top of the brown bready notes you've got a bit of a dark chocolate there. Not too high in cocoa, you know, maybe a sort of 60%-ish cocoa, not really really dark and bitter as you'll sometimes get, but kind of sitting in the middle of the chocolate spectrum, if you like. So there is a little bit of that there. You've got a wee touch of kind of brown sugary note in the very middle of your palate, which is obviously the booziness coming out of the beer. But if you go to the front corners of your palate, then move inwards, there's a little bit of a kind of woodiness to the beer as well. So you do get a little touch of that kind of coming out of the beer there. There is a few woody undertones there. And if you go to the very centre of your palate and then move forward, there's a little bit of you do get a wee bit of a kind of nutty undertone to the beer as well. The cocoa nibs, it's interesting, it did say there was cocoa nibs in this beer, but I think the cocoa is not overly obvious. I don't think the cocoa is too obvious in this one, to be honest with you. The vanilla, you know, if you go towards the front, the front of that middle third of your tongue, you do get a little bit of the vanilla quality kind of coming out there. But again, I don't think the vanilla and the cocoa nibs are overly obvious in this one. I think the cinnamon has maybe been used considerably more heavily than the other elements of the beer. Because I guess if you put, maybe with the amount of cinnamon that they've put in here, they need something a little bit sweeter like cocoa and vanilla, you know, other adjuncts, just to kind of balance it out, to be honest with you. So that's an interesting point to make about this beer. The vanilla and the cocoa aren't overly apparent in this one, I would say. Yeah, I do like how that goes together. The malt base, it strikes me as quite slick. There's a wee bit of dryness to it, like on the kind of woody, nutty undertones. You do get a bit of dryness from the spiciness in this one as well. So I like how that goes together. This is quite a nice, the dryness that you get out of this one and a bit of the sort of spicy bitterness that you get is also very, very nice. I like that about this beer. In terms of the hoppy side of things then, in the back corners of the palate you do get a little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward it gets a little bit more kind of herbal. Then you get some kind of floral notes on the front corners of the palate. Then round the very front curve of the tongue it is just a little bit lighter and grassy, and it does actually feel as if there's a wee touch of zestiness almost to the grassy elements to this beer. So that's kind of interesting. The hops in this, what would it be? Would it maybe be Summit or something like that? Could also be a little bit of English hop. It almost strikes me that there might be a bit of a Kent Golding or something like that in here. Styrian Golding, of course, from Slovenia. You could use that in here. I don't think it's like Bramling's Cross or something like that. And it's definitely the ashy. You don't get the ashy characters that you would get from Fuggles. That's the other hop that's very popular to use in these kind of beers. But yeah, there is something that tells me there might be an English hop in here. Otherwise, it would probably be Summit from the States. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, as I always say, in that front third of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters push their way out of the beer. And for me, between that middle third of your tongue and the front third of your tongue, there is a bit of that kind of cakey, Christmassy pudding, almost burnt cakey type flavour to this beer. And then you get the fruits kind of sitting in front of that. So yeah, the fruit in this one is not too complex. I mean, you've got a wee bit of a kind of, it really leans a bit more towards a kind of very boozy, it's not quite figgy, what is that? I mean, when you take it in, you've maybe got just a little bit of a raisiny sharpness to it, a little bit of a pruny sharpness, but I think very quickly the fruitiness kind of disappears from this one. It really comes across like, you know, it's just, the front of the palate, it's not even that fruity. It really becomes more like a kind of cinnamon roll or like, you know, Christmas puddingy sort of thing. It's really the front of your palate, which is usually where the fruits come out, actually comes across as quite dry and kind of cakey, like a cinnamon rolly bread type thing actually. So I think that's a really interesting perspective to take on this one. I like how that goes together in this beer actually. It's not fruity in the kind of conventional sense. You maybe get a little bit of a kind of candied blackcurranty type quality that comes out in the aftertaste with this, but to me there's not really a big fruity presence to this beer. The front of your palate really is more cakey and cinnamony and spicy, to be quite honest. So bear that in mind when you try this beer. I really like how this one goes together. Quite different, I have to say, but it does you know, it does do the job, to be honest with you. I can feel the booze in this one going to my head a little bit. 12%, or you know, it's going to do that. So yeah, let's leave it at that for the flavour on this one. Mouthfeel, as I said, mouthfeel wise, I'd say this is a kind of mid-bodied stout, to be honest with you. For the style, I think it's quite light. So top end of mid-bodied, bottom end, nah, not even bottom end of full body. This one's definitely a kind of mid-bodied beer. The carbonation's very smooth. It's got a really slick mouthfeel in terms of hoppy bitterness and things, and you do get a bit of bitterness from the malts and stuff. In fairness, I think we're talking about 50, 60 IBUs out of this beer. Although in fairness, the IBU, the bitterness in this one feels quite smooth. You do have a degree of sweetness to this one, but I think really this beer starts to get drier and drier the further you go into the aftertaste. You get a wee bit of sweetness from the vanilla. There's a really dry, kind of spicy, cakey quality to it, and you've just got a little bit of a kind of fruity note to the beer as well. So yeah, it's quite a quirky one, this, and one of the more spicy. And more, it's kind of interesting because of how the spicy and slick thing sort of matches up, but definitely one of the more quirky beers, I think, that I've had from Stigbergets in recent times, to be honest with you. So yeah, an interesting one to try, and if you get the chance to have a look at this one, I do recommend that you have a look at it, because it is pretty interesting, I have to say. So yeah, it's one that you should try. I think, as I say, I think this one might be more of an acquired taste. You have to really like cinnamon and cake to enjoy this one, probably. So just bear that in mind. If you want a more kind of straight up and kind of conventional stout or whatever, you might want to go for the Trouble Sleep or the Yang Awake from this brewery. But yeah, I like how this one goes together. It's getting very popular to put all these adjuncts in stouts, of course, as well. Recently from Gothenburg there was the Dugas 15 stout, which had 15 adjuncts in it for their 15th anniversary, which was just kind of crazy, to be honest with you. But yeah, this one, it turned out quite nicely. Is it my favourite stout that I've had from Stigbergets? I'd probably say no. I think I did enjoy the other two a little bit more, the Yang Awake and the Trouble Sleep. I do like the coffee stouts a bit better than the kind of spicier ones like this, but that's just me. As we always say, beer is subjective. Different people like different things, but it's a nice enough beer, this, and if you're into cinnamon, you will enjoy this one. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this. This one was the Sinnerman 12% Cinnamon Imperial Stout from Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. Really nicely done once again. Quite light, I have to say. That was the other impression I got of it. Quite light and quite a spicy Imperial Stout, in my opinion. So yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. As always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Stigbergets as well, and we will return to these guys at some point very, very soon. This one was the Cinnamon Imperial Stout, 12% ABV. From Stigbergets Bryggeri in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden. Thanks again for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Slàinte, skål, cheers.